Some moments don't change a life because of money. They change it because of a single sentence spoken from the purest heart. When the wealthiest woman in the city walked into a small neighborhood cafe and asked a struggling single father to marry her, everyone expected him to say yes without hesitation. After all, she owned skyscrapers, luxury cars, and companies worth billions. He owned little more than an old apartment, a second-hand pickup truck, and endless love for his young daughter. But no one was prepared for what happened next. The little girl's unexpected response silenced the billionaire CEO, leaving tears in the eyes of everyone who witnessed it. If stories about kindness, hope, and second chances inspire you, we'd love to have you with us. Please support Kindness Corner by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs hope today, subscribing, and telling us in the comments what kindness means to you. David Carter had once dreamed of becoming an architect. Life, however, had drawn different plans for him. After his wife Emily lost her battle with cancer 5 years earlier, every dream he had carefully built seemed to collapse overnight. Left alone to raise his 6-year-old daughter Lily, David gave up his career ambitions and accepted every job he could find. During the day, he repaired furniture in a small workshop. At night, he delivered groceries across town. Sleep became a luxury he could rarely afford, but every exhausted morning became worthwhile whenever Lily smiled at him over a simple breakfast they prepared together. Their apartment was tiny, with peeling paint and creaking wooden floors, yet it overflowed with warmth. Every birthday was celebrated with homemade decorations. Every Christmas featured carefully wrapped thrift store presents that somehow felt more valuable than expensive gifts. David constantly worried about unpaid bills, but he never allowed Lily to feel poor. Instead, he taught her that real wealth lived inside generous hearts, honest work, and the ability to help someone expecting nothing in return. Across the city lived Victoria Sinclair, the legendary CEO of Sinclair Global Holdings. Business magazines praised her brilliance while newspapers admired her determination. She had built an empire employing thousands of people across several countries. People admired her success, but few knew how lonely her enormous mansion had become. Success had filled every room with priceless artwork, yet none of it could replace the family she had lost. Her parents were gone. The man she had once planned to marry had chosen ambition over love. Since then, Victoria buried herself in work, convincing herself that achievement was enough. Everything began changing one rainy afternoon. Victoria's luxury car stopped near David's cafe after a tire unexpectedly burst. While her security team arranged repairs, she stepped inside to escape the rain. The small cafe buzzed with ordinary people enjoying inexpensive coffee and warm conversation. In one corner, she noticed David helping an elderly customer whose wallet had fallen apart. Without drawing attention, he quietly paid for the man's meal before returning to his own table where Lily was carefully coloring pictures beside him. Victoria couldn't stop watching. She saw David wipe chocolate from Lily's cheek with gentle patience. She watched him laugh at her silly jokes despite the visible exhaustion beneath his eyes. Most importantly, she noticed something she had not seen in years: peace. Over the following weeks, Victoria found reasons to visit the cafe again. She observed David helping strangers carry groceries, repairing broken chairs free of charge, and volunteering weekends at a community shelter. Nobody recognized the billionaire beneath her simple clothes because she intentionally dressed like everyone else. She wasn't studying financial reports anymore. She was studying character. Curiosity slowly became admiration. Victoria eventually learned David's story from local residents. She discovered how he had refused several opportunities that required relocating because Lily loved her school and neighborhood. She learned that he secretly paid school lunch fees for children whose parents struggled financially. Even with almost nothing, he somehow continued giving. For the first time in years, Victoria questioned everything she believed about success. Months later, she introduced herself honestly. David nearly dropped the coffee pot when he realized who stood before him. The billionaire everyone recognized from magazine covers was smiling warmly across the counter. She thanked him for inspiring her without realizing it. She explained how watching his everyday kindness reminded her that compassion created stronger foundations than corporations ever could. Their conversations slowly became friendships. Victoria discovered how refreshing it felt to spend evenings eating homemade soup instead of attending glamorous business dinners. David learned that behind every newspaper headline stood a woman carrying invisible grief. Lily welcomed Victoria with innocent excitement, proudly showing drawings, school projects, and collections of smooth stones she believed looked like tiny hearts. For nearly a year, they built trust one ordinary day at a time. Then, on a quiet autumn afternoon beneath golden trees, Victoria asked David the question nobody expected. She admitted she had fallen deeply in love with him not because he needed saving, but because he had unknowingly saved something inside her that money never could. She confessed that she admired his honesty, resilience, and devotion. She asked if he would consider marrying her and building a family together. David sat silently. The proposal itself wasn't what frightened him. He feared how drastically Lily's life could change. He knew newspapers would follow them. Cameras might invade their privacy. Friends could accuse him of marrying for money. Most painfully, he worried Lily might believe he was replacing her mother. He gently explained that before making any decision, there was one opinion that mattered more than anyone else's, his daughter's. That evening, the three of them sat together in the familiar apartment where everything had begun. The expensive world Victoria represented felt strangely distant among worn furniture and family photographs. Victoria looked nervous for perhaps the first time in decades. Lily quietly studied the woman she had grown to love like family. The room remained silent long enough for every heartbeat to feel loud. Finally, Lily smiled. She walked toward Victoria carrying an old picture frame. Inside was a photograph of Emily smiling while holding baby Lily. The little girl carefully placed the picture into Victoria's hands before softly explaining that no one could ever replace her mommy because mothers were forever inside people's hearts. But hearts, she believed, were made big enough to love more than one person. She said she had watched Victoria make her father laugh again after years of sadness. She noticed he no longer cried quietly after she fell asleep. She noticed he smiled while cooking dinner again. Then she gently asked Victoria to promise only one thing, that she would never try to erase Emily from their family story, because loving someone new should never require forgetting someone who came before. Victoria couldn't answer immediately. Tears streamed down her face as years of emotional walls collapsed all at once. No boardroom victory, billion-dollar acquisition, or international award had ever humbled her the way one little girl's wisdom did. She knelt before Lily, holding the old photograph carefully against her heart, silently promising that Emily's memory would always have a place in their home. David realized then that true love wasn't asking someone to leave their past behind, it was choosing to honor it together. Their wedding months later reflected exactly that belief. Instead of luxury ballrooms, they chose a peaceful botanical garden. Employees stood beside neighbors. Executives shared tables with mechanics, teachers, waitresses, and volunteers from the shelter where David had spent countless weekends helping others. An empty chair decorated with white roses remained in the front row, honoring Emily's memory. Nobody questioned its presence. Everyone understood. Victoria continued leading her company, but her priorities changed dramatically. Employee assistance programs expanded. Scholarships multiplied. Community housing projects received funding. David established a charitable foundation supporting widowed parents raising children alone. Lily proudly participated in every project, reminding everyone that kindness grows stronger when shared. Years later, people often asked Victoria what the greatest investment of her life had been. Many assumed she would name a successful company acquisition. Instead, she always smiled and remembered the tiny apartment, the old photograph, and the little girl whose words had forever transformed her understanding of love. Because in the end, fortunes may build skyscrapers, but only compassion builds families. If this story touched your heart, please consider supporting Kindness Corner by liking, sharing, subscribing, and letting us know your thoughts. Your encouragement helps more uplifting stories reach people who may need hope today. Before this story ends, we have one special request. Please leave a comment telling us who in your life has shown you the greatest act of kindness. Your story might inspire someone else who is reading the comments. Some people spend their entire lives searching for treasure without realizing it often arrives disguised as ordinary love, quiet sacrifice, and the courage to open a heart that has been broken before. David gave his daughter security. Lily gave a billionaire wisdom. Victoria gave them both a future. Together they prove that the richest family is never the one with the most money, but the one where every heart has room for forgiveness, remembrance, and unconditional love. And perhaps that is the greatest wealth anyone could ever possess.